What's good? What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Urban Platform Speaks. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel as you tune in and check out the content. And with that being said, man, I want to react to a recent episode of Jason Whitlock's show that I watched, right? And he was discussing a statement that Reggie Miller made about Caitlin Clark, right? Reggie Miller in his statement compared Caitlin Clark to Peyton Pritchard, right? And I like Peyton Pritchard. I think it's his story is really good. I remember watching Peyton Pritchard when he first got to Boston, right? And he got limited minutes, but every time Peyton Pritchard got in there, man, he just was a gritty, um, really good point guard. In my opinion, Peyton Pritchard is a pure old school throwback point guard, right? He's a pass first guard, but he can score. He can score. So if you leave him open, he gonna hit the shot, or if you disrespect his scoring ability, he definitely gonna score because he got moves. But because he played with the Boston Celtics, he also, he could set up Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, right? He could set those guys up. Anybody on the team, he just was a really good point guard. Now, he's getting more minutes, and he just worked his way up and gained the trust of the coaching staff and his teammates. And I like Peyton Pritchard. But with that being said, though, he's not Caitlin Clark. Like his impact on the team is not what Caitlin Clark impact is on Indiana. It's not what Caitlin Clark impact is on in the WNBA. So when I heard that Reggie Miller said that, I didn't get the statement. I didn't really get the statement. Reggie Miller said that, he reminds her of Peyton Pritchard. I thought it was kind of disrespectful, especially coming from Reggie Miller, somebody who knows the game the way he know the game. He knows the caliber of player that Caitlin Clark is. And so for him to compare her to Peyton Pritchard, and Peyton Pritchard is not a name that you like just pull right out of the you don't pull that name right out of the air, because with Peyton Pritchard, even when he said Peyton Pritchard, and I knew who Peyton Pritchard was, I had to think about it for a second. I was like, Peyton Pritchard. Oh, the guard for Boston. And that you don't do that with Caitlin Clark, right? You don't. If somebody say Caitlin Clark, people know immediately who you talking about. So I don't, so it's not like with Reggie Miller, like he put some forethought in that. And so when Jason Whitlock said that he disrespected her, I kind of agree with Jason Whitlock on that, because why would you compare Caitlin Clark to Peyton Pritchard? I can see if he said Steph Curry, then I can go for that. But Peyton Pritchard, nah. But with that being said, man, I'm gonna play the audio from Jason Whitlock's show. Him and Scap is discussing it. Then I'm gonna come back and give some more of my input.
Move over to an athlete that I do love. His jersey's hanging up right outside in my lounge here. Reggie Miller, all-time great pacer. He took a little sneak diss shot at Caitlin Clark, in my opinion, Scap. I want to get your ruling on this. But he compared her to Peyton Pritchard. And you know more about Peyton Pritchard than I do, but let's hear from Reggie Miller.
I'm curious too. I know you guys have seen Caitlin play. She's a one of ones, but is there like a comparison of someone either you played with or you guys watching the game right now that reminds you of the young lady to your right?
I like Peyton Pritchard from Boston, the way he's able to handle the basketball. He makes big shots when the shot clock's running down, a lot like this young lady right here. Isn't afraid of the big moment and is a champion like she's soon to be.
What about you, Mella?
I mean, to me, she nailed it. It would be Luka for me. The way that you're able to play in that open court, to see the vision that you have, to be able to shoot at the drop of a dime, to be able to pull up across half court. You keep the defensive thinking every single time, not knowing what you're going to do. And again, you have that too, and that pick and roll, keeping them in jail, and then understanding how to operate out of that. You have it. You have it. So I would agree with her, Celia.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just.
All right. So even Carmelo Anthony said Luka, right? But and now if I say Luka for Caitlin Clark, I would say yeah, if you remind me of Luka, but Luka with a little bit better defense. She's a little bit look, she's a better defender, in the WNBA than Luka is in the NBA. So, but like I said, I can go with what Carmelo said, but what Reggie said, man, that just he way off.
Peyton Pritchard. What is he? The 60th best player in the NBA? I don't know.
If that, Jason, I didn't know when I saw this on the rundown or on the little the sheet of rundown of what we were going to talk about. I didn't know that Caitlin. I didn't see the clip until just now. I didn't know she was on the set while that happened. That I would have just walked off. If I was Caitlin Clark, I would have just walked off at that point. Like Caitlin Clark is the Michael Jordan of the WNBA, at least in her importance to that league.
Steph
and then
Curry.
if you want to go to a specific comp, I would say just be safe and say Steph Curry. They're two, elite outside shooters. They move a lot without the ball. Like it's an obvious comp. She's a smaller player. Like it just makes totals. Peyton Pritchard, like he was a bench player until this year, forced into action only because of the injury to Tatum. And obviously they made some changes in the offseason, got rid of some of their core nucleus to that championship run in 2024. But Pritchard, look, he's a nice player. He won Sixth Man of the Year last season, but like he wasn't, again, even a starter till now. I believe he's averaging a shade under 17 points per game in the NBA right now, which in the Lord's year of 2026, Jason, 17 points per game now is like, I don't know, like an 8 or 9 point per game score back in like the early 2000s or the 90s. So this is an absolute dig, a total undeniable shot by your man Reg at Caitlin Clark. And I can't believe she was on set and just stood there and took it like that with a smile on her face. I guess she's classier than me because I would have just like dropped the mic and walked off.
Now, I'm glad that Caitlin Clark didn't walk off and drop the mic, because then some people would have interpreted that as disrespect to Peyton Pritchard, right? Or they would have said that she, maybe she's ungrateful or something. Anything. They just would have, they would have threw it back on her, tried to anyway. But I just think that, and she probably think, he's entitled to his opinion, which he is. That is just crazy work right there, man. So let me see what Jason Whitlock is going to say.
Don't forget, Peyton Pritchard averages 4 or 5 assists. I mean, he's got to be in the top 70 assist guys in the NBA. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark is known for her passing, led the league in assists as a rookie. Scap, I think it's obvious here. You know who Reggie Miller's big sister is? Cheryl. He took a shot on Cheryl's behalf. And I don't even know where Cheryl comes down on the Caitlin Clark deal, but I think that's what motivated Reggie is Caitlin's a bigger deal than my sister. She shouldn't be. So let me diminish her by comparing her to – it took –
All right, let me just say this. Cheryl Miller came out right off the bat and said she really digs Caitlin Clark. She always give Caitlin Clark her flowers. So, I wouldn't say that, there's any type of competition or animosity when it comes to Cheryl Miller and Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark also has mutual respect and appreciation, for Cheryl Miller. So, I wouldn't throw Cheryl Miller under the bus like that. I just think that this guy, man, that's got to be the goofiest thing. And he don't really, in my opinion, he don't make Caitlin Clark look bad when he say that. He just make himself look bad. If you get that kind of comment from a person who don't know basketball, then it's one thing. That's different. But when you get that kind of comment from somebody who know basketball, been around basketball, and have a sister that was one of the best basketball players to ever play basketball, and you're gonna say Peyton Pritchard, that's not a reflection of Caitlin Clark. That's a reflection of Reggie Miller And I can't really give him a pass and say that, he didn't think, he wasn't trying to be disrespectful, because he know too much about women's basketball. He know too much about the NBA. So yeah, I think that was a dig at her for real.
All of his discipline not to say Jeremy Lin, because that's what he really wanted to say, is she reminds me a lot of Jeremy Lin, flash in the pan.
I think you're right. I think he probably would have liked to say that. And I like Reggie as a player, but he has been doing questionable things in the broadcast booth for years. This guy's been drooling and slobbering over LeBron James, like at every stretch and any opportunity that he gets. So I'm not the highest or the biggest fan of your guy, Reggie, in the booth. I liked him on the court. But again, another guy that really hasn't benefited from picking up the mic.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Reggie Miller as a basketball commentator either. But, I liked him as a player, very competitive. But yeah, this, in my opinion, man, this definitely was very disrespectful to Caitlin Clark. I think the way she handled it, I thought was cool. He entitled to his opinion. And it just makes him look like, it just makes him look bad. It's not a reflection of her. So she didn't have to walk off or anything like that. So that's my take on it. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Also, don't forget to leave a comment. And with that being said, I will check you all out in the next video. Peace.